Wishbone, she did Blue's Clues, and then she told us that we were doing for Jane Austen what Wishbone did, and we all cried.
Welcome to Sauce and Austin, a Podlander Drunkcast podcast. Sadly, I only caught part of that, Julie, but
it's okay.
We are coming to you from after the thing you haven't heard yet.
Time warp, time warp.
Travel, and we're all full disclosure,
High as fuck.
basically high on, and not our own supply, on the supply of one Jeannie Simpson, the grand high mistress of Caroline Bingleyisms. The
sheer perfection. That's a cat.
Sultana of new money gaucherie. The I'm out. She was very good. Jeannie Simpson of Wishbone fame is our guest this week. We just got done talking to her, and oh boy, I am running really high. Microphone. It's good, like the techno remix of Microphone is how good I feel. Microphone. Microphone. I don't know what's going on.
There's a whole TikTok like remix meme thing going on now with this experience. This episode was just that good. It's all over the internet already.
You know, we at the end of our conversation with Jeannie Simpson, which we just had and you haven't heard yet, so none of this means anything to you. Sorry. She says that it's Wishbone is before memes, right? And I don't know if it's that she is lucky or unlucky that Wishbone predates Twitter, essentially, because Caroline Bingley would be like 96 memes.
Yes.
90. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's just like all the memes. Maybe we need to make that happen. I don't know. I don't know what's going on. Microphone.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I guess this is part 3 of our Wishbone series. If you haven't listened to parts 1 and 2, you really should. I would actually suggest that you listen to these in order because there's a nice escalation. There's a little meta narrative.
Yep.
So start with episode 1 where we just talk about, come on, Wishbone. And then episode 2 featuring the great Danny Jawless as we talk about the 90s storyline. And then episode 3, this one, the one you're listening to right now, our conversation with Jeannie Simpson of Wishbone and many other things. Enjoy, and we'll be back in a couple minutes. Did I forget to say anything cool?
No, that sounded good to me.
Good job.
All right. We're going to all have a nice drink of water and a lie down while you listen, and then we'll come back relatively subdued. So, as we definitely haven't already said before, we were so impressed with your performance. It was so, I think a past version of me might have called it high drag.
I think I heard that too.
I think
that is like the best description. I am putting that on my resume that I can do high drag. That's one of my special abilities at the bottom of my resume.
High plays guitar, licensed driver, high drag.
And high drag Jane Austen.
Yeah.
Canine choreographer must be in there too.
And canine choreographer, which actually I should have on there, but anyway, yeah.
So let's start there because in the version of this conversation we definitely didn't already have.
Of course not. Yeah.
Julie and Janine heard your response and I did not. So I just got to watch them laughing and like being delighted. So now I just need to know. So what was it like to choreograph Soccer the dog?
Yeah. So Soccer was, first of all, an amazing actor, let's face it. And he was totally method. And so, you know, that made it tricky for the rest of us. He would just stay in character for the whole episode, you know.
Man, that's
like Jared Leto.
Kind of a diva move there.
He was such a Jared Leto. You have no idea. But no, he was such a sweet doggy. And so I was, you know, as I definitely did not say before, I was very young, took it very seriously, did my research, you know, about all the dances then, and had all these, you know, crazy plans. And then I went to talk to the dog trainer and she was amazing. And she was basically like, we can do 3 moves. And I was like, okay, there we go. 3 moves. This is it, people. We're going forward. We're touching our paw. We're going back, touching our paw back, and we're going in a circle. And then, you know, he can run down beside someone like a reel. So that's what we did. And I looked for a dance to base it on, which I found, which was great. And it was so cute. He was great. He stayed right in his place, which is saying a lot because some of our human actors were all over the place. And it's all about patterns during that time. The dances are all about patterns. It's very strict pattern choreography. And the dog was amazing. And of course, the dog got a treat every time it hit its mark. The humans did not. So that may be why the dog was better than the rest of us at staying, coloring within the lines, because exactly. And as the series went on, actually, they had to let out the costumes because the dog got bigger and bigger because of all the treats, because it was constantly being treated. And so it was like a Marlon Brando situation. By the end of the first season, we were like, oh my God, this poor dog.
This is the behind the scenes stuff I was hoping for. This is so good.
The whole thing, and there was some dancing in the Romeo and Juliet episode that I was in as well. And we were dancing together, and it was the same thing. And for a little more behind the scenes fun, in Romeo and Juliet, the trainer was under my skirt so that the dog would stay looking at me the entire time with the eye line. And so I had this giant skirt and she would be under there. And she was under there on the balcony, so he'd look up and keep looking, and she had a treat in her hand. So basically I had a human under my skirt with a dog treat in their hand, waving it in the direction so that the dog would keep their eye line on me. And that was a real, interesting. I was just glad that I, put on my undergarments that day. It was something I was not expecting. But it totally worked because the dog was so, attentive, which was great. But the same thing, it's just so working with the dog, especially in dance, is hilarious.
When we started,
also Soccer could get up on, a little bit of walking on the hind paws, which was very exciting. And he could also jump up and spin in the air. So, try to use all of those.
When we started watching this episode, before it was revealed that Soccer / Wishbone would be Mr. Darcy, I was like, he's Mr. Darcy. So how often
it was coming?
I knew it was. How often was he like the romantic lead?
Oh, so often. I mean, almost every, because as you know, classic works of literature are just, overflowing with men who are, dark and stormy and romantic and that's why we love them. And the dog was always being called upon to play that part. Sometime right after Wishbone aired, he went on the Jay Leno show, and the trainer said that I was his girlfriend. And that was a bit awkward because, I wasn't married at the time, so that's good. But it was, it was just the strangest thing. I guess Jay Leno was like, who does he like on the show? Whatever. I apologize to Jay Leno. That was terrible.
Don't never apologize to Jay Leno.
I'm so sorry. I take that back. Let's redact that impression. But anyway, and the trainer was like, well, Jeannie Simpson, who plays some of his leading ladies, he loves her. Which was very sweet because the dog and I did love each other. He was very sweet doggy. And he had 2 stunt dogs, one that would swim and one that would get in the flying harness. And those dogs, if you look closely when you watch the shows, you can see it's not Soccer in those moments, the stunt dogs, because they're a little scruffy. They were like behind
like a good stunt person should be. Most stunt people are a little scruffier. Yeah.
Yeah, they were a little scruffy. They were like like drinking beer, and they were like
they lived hard lives. That's
right.
Yeah.
Like Brad Pitt in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Yes. Yeah, dude.
Oh my God, exactly. That is how they behave. But yeah.
Oh God, what a delight.
Stunt dogs.
Speaking of the dancing in the Pride and Prejudice episode, it was so well done. So thank you. But the moment where he did the little bow, like the downward dog.
Bow. Yes.
That was when I fell in love with Wishbone. That moment.
Right. I mean, how I said, can he bow? Because we have to have a bow and curtsy moment. And the trainer was like, I'll work on it. And the trainer, Jackie Kaplan, was amazing. And she came back and was like, here's the bow. And I was like, we're in, we're done. And scene. I mean, it was just so sweet and so cute.
Well, in his like puffy jacket, like the puffy jacket with the shoulder pads.
I know. I mean, look, and the fact that he would do all that, even wearing the outfit. I mean, when I've tried to put a costume on my dog or my cat, and yes, I've even tried on my cat, it is not happening. They look so sad and beleaguered. You know what I mean? Yep. And they basically just kind of melt down, like I'm, like they're having an out-of-body experience, and I'm torturing them. So the fact that dog would wear all those costumes and still do all that,
what a trooper!
All of those actions was amazing. It was amazing.
Soccer!
What a professional!
Soccer!
Good
professional, consummate professional.
Yeah.
So true.
I have another dance question. I promise we're going to ask you questions that aren't about the dancing, but you did choreograph a parlor dance for a dog. So like,
yes, of course.
I got to ask. So what was the dance that it was based on? Which of the parlor dances?
Well, it wasn't, it turned out it couldn't really be based on a specific dance. So I was saying that when I was researching, what I was most fascinated about was the patterns and the changing partners, because as I may have said in an earlier conversation that we definitely didn't have, there were all these really interesting rules about dancing during that time. For example, if you refuse your first partner, the first person who asks you to dance, no matter who they are, you were not supposed to dance the entire night. You were supposed to refuse all of your partners as a woman. And that is true. So I found that so shocking, and then if you can only dance 2 dances with the same partner in a row. And then I also found out that the dances would go on forever. Like they would go on until like 4 or 5 in the morning. The stamina of the people that you most wanted to dance with, like the man who would dance until 4 or 5 in the morning, was part of what made him attractive or popular at the time. You know what I mean?
Imagine if he can dance till 4 o'clock in the morning, imagine what else he can do till 4 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, so true. I mean,
it's like that,
exactly,
right? He can flex a hand.
Stamina.
He's got some hand flexing stamina.
Flexing.
This is so we didn't actually know about. I think we were all of us were surprised about the first dance rule.
Yeah,
I don't think any of us knew that.
That's so
which suddenly
up.
like adds a whole nother light to Mr. Collins, which I just was like, what a douche.
Well, yep, exactly. Mr. Collins knew that going in, know, it's like, exactly. So,
goodness gracious.
But yeah, so unfortunately, it looked fine, but the coming together, the going away, the going around in a circle around yourself. And then, basically then you would probably change partners. We didn't do that. But was kind of at the core of all of the dances, which was interesting. They all started with, like a meet and greet,
Hello.
So your partner, you would go, exactly. Hello, goodbye. Hello. And I think as a choreographer, I would say it was like, hello. And then the goodbye and then hello. You would come together and then go apart without touching. So it was it's interesting because the dances of the time sort of moved from not touching, coming together, going back to then finally, actually being into your dance position and touching the person, which was a big deal. Big doings, people, big doings. And we couldn't really do that with the doggy because the height differential, So again, I was at one point, I actually toyed with having her scoop up the wonderful woman who was playing Elizabeth Bennet, have her scoop up the dog and hold him like a baby, and then it just looked so ridiculous, you guys. It would, it would have, it did not look right. It looked very disturbing. Yeah. I don't know how to say it, but it was so, it's awkward enough that
y'all really walked that line perfectly.
Right.
In this
and
episode.
we were constantly crossing it and then running back to the other side, like scooping up the dog and trying to dance with the actual dog was such a bad idea. And we knew it right away. We were like, no, put him down, like this is just awful.
God. I love it.
In the many events of your life,
yes,
where on the list of most surreal moments would you place Elizabeth Bennet picks up Wishbone and then we realize we've gone too far?
Well, I would say that's really high. I have this is a completely separate story. I'll give you my other most surreal dance moment. Okay,
please.
So that's really surreal. I also choreographed for another dog, an animated dog on this show. Called Blue's Clues. So I choreographed the show Blue's Clues.
What?
No kidding.
This is my surreal moment for Blue's Clues. They used to send me the music, which was awesome. And then I would choreograph, a little thing for Steve and Donovan, who played the Steve character later. And then they would film me doing the dance. And then the animators would put in side table drawer, or I would say, this is the salt and pepper shaker, or this is Blue dancing or whatever. And they would film me. So I would get my music and it was always super fun. And, and then one day I got the reel and it said it was the toilet training dance. And I was like, well, I don't understand. And they were like, you need to come up, because my job was to come up with also moves that kids could follow and do, because that was part of the educational part, was that we hoped that kids at home would get up and dance and do the, the male dance and this dance. So I would always try to keep moves that like the kids, because I was a teacher of children as well, would follow and have fun doing. And, and sometimes we work some sign language in and everything. So literally I get this song and I play it, and it is about going to the bathroom, including wiping, flushing. I mean, we hit it all. And so I was like, I turned to Adam, who would, become my husband. And I was like, I think this is it for me. I'm doing a toilet training dance. I don't know where it goes from here. I'm like, I may need to retire after this, because it was like squat, wipe, flush, wash, use the toilet. I'm not kidding. Like these. And I was like, and I have to come up with moves for things like, squat, flush, wipe. So anyway, so that and then Elizabeth Bennet scooping up Mr. Darcy like a baby and dancing with him. Those were probably the most surreal moments so far.
I'm so thankful for that story. Thank you for sharing
What
that.
have I done to be so rewarded in life?
Oh my goodness.
What have I done to deserve such luxury?
And I played that toilet training dance to torture my own children. And I want to show you some of Mommy's work. I'm not kidding. And they thought it was hilarious. They were laughing so hard, and they were like, please do not ever show that to my friends. And so I have that as kind of like a back pocket, disciplinary measure.
Yeah, totally.
But,
do I need to get the Blue's Clues video?
Should I get the toilet training video that Mommy choreographed out? Don't make me go there.
And all the friends are like, yes.
Even just
the friends are like, yeah, show it
just
again.
The thread of that makes so much. The mental image of like, what could that be? That's a lot.
I see it.
Oh my God.
I've definitely damaged them forever. They're going to be in therapy talking about that.
Oh, such is life.
That's got to be like two of the biggest dogs in children's television history. And I'm including Clifford, the big red dog, in that conversation.
Like, I'm just sad I never got to work with Clifford, man.
Yeah,
anyway.
I mean, really, you've got to get it together. Come on.
If I could somehow do a project with Clifford and Snoopy, I mean, bam.
That's the hat trick.
Exactly. That's
EGOT territory, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like that's what we're.
Yes. Oh my God. You're the Whoopi Goldberg of dog choreographers.
That's, what I am so,
Take it.
That's how I want to go down, people.
Great.
The choreography is
I want to
obviously
be
amazing.
remembered.
Yeah.
But honestly, we're not blowing smoke up your ass. You are so good in this episode. And I just need to understand as much as you can remember, because obviously this was quite a while ago, where these choices came from, like how it is that you decided that to show that Caroline Bingley was like, all talk, but really kind of the worst, you were going to take like a brownie cupcake and shove it in your mouth. Or like there's this amazing moment where you're drinking, I don't know, espresso or something, and then you chuck the cup behind you. And then for me, the peak that I can't get better than this is when you do a back bend to look at Mr. Darcy. Like I was doing a back bend. That's why I sounded like I was bending farther away.
It was really good too.
Thank you.
Amazing back bend.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So what was your process like? How did you come up with this stuff?
So I was so excited, first of all, that we were doing a Jane Austen episode, because my husband said that my own family, my sister and my mom, are like Sense and Sensibility put down in the middle of Oklahoma, because I'm from a really small town in Oklahoma. And it was just
where? I'm from Arkansas. Where are you from?
Shawnee, Shawnee?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay. I can't believe it. Okay. Yeah. We'll discuss that later. Okay. So, my husband always says it's like Sense and Sensibility in Oklahoma, because it was my mom, my sister, and me. We're so close. We're very well educated, but have no money, all this, all this stuff. Anyway. I was so excited we were doing Austen, and of course, everyone, the Wishbone players, who were the people like me who got to be in the part when the dog imagines himself in the, the classic works, all did different parts each week. And we always, we'd find out who we were playing. And of course, all the women wanted to be the Bennets, because the Bennets are so awesome. But I wanted to be Caroline Bingley. And I was so excited because I was thinking like a woman of that time, yes, she has means, but like she trades in the currency basically of judgment. Like she's always like judging. She's so judgy, and she's like constantly comparing herself to other people because all she has really is, you know, what she considers her status over other people. And I thought how exhausting that must be, you know, but I wanted to make that funny for kids to see because I had experienced a lot of people being extremely, you know, snobby and snooty to me in my life. And I just thought for kids who are going to experience that, we should exaggerate it to the extreme because then it will help them, you know what I mean, to see how funny it is and ridiculous and hopefully not take it seriously when it happens to them. You know what I mean? Because they'll see kind of behind the curtain of how these people are really insecure and they probably, you know what I mean? And they're probably doing this because they are constantly themselves feeling inadequate and wanting to be better and prettier and, you know, cooler than everybody else, you know, and that's what's driving them. So I talked with the director, who is this wonderful person named Ken Harrison. And he was like, yes, let's make it like almost like slapstick. That everything she does to impress other people is like way, way, way too much. You know what I mean? So like the back band when she's trying to make herself look funny and sexy to a dog, Mr. Darcy, you know, or trying to get his attention. And of course he just ignores me, which is so great. In the shot, the dog will not look at me. It's not,
like,
you know, it's like,
you're not a treat. No.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I don't see any treats
you
over
are
there.
the opposite of a treat. Yeah, someone get a bag and scoop her up, put her in the fruit bag and take her out. It's like I am. And then that scene with the we were like, it'd be so funny if like her diamonds went flying off and landed in the punch bowl, and she got food all over her face, really rich food, but didn't know it, you know. And you know, it's like when you have something in your teeth and you're trying to be really cool and talk to someone, and you know, then you look in the mirror and see that you've got like, yeah, exactly, basically a, you know, hee-haw mouth, or you're like missing 3 teeth and you had no idea. So we just tried to find everything in that party scene, you know, every basically party foul she could commit would be awesome, because then it would just exaggerate how, you know, it's such a, in a way I felt sorry for Caroline Bingley, you know what I mean? Because women of that time, really all they had was their status, you know what I mean? And hoarding it over other people. And so I feel like they're constantly, you know, trying to do that, and it's can't be fun for them, you know. It's exhausting anyway, and it's certainly not fun for the people who are their targets, you know, who they see as underlings, and they're so bored that that's like all they have to do all day. It's like put people in status order and then rearrange it, and then, you know, and then put themselves in there and insert themselves.
Something that we discovered rereading the book is that the Bingleys were actually new money. So Caroline Bingley probably had an extra level of trying to be fancy, right? Which I think so came through in your performance.
You know what? That is amazing that you said that, because when I was looking at the thing, I was like, oh my God, this is such a like new money behavior. You know what I mean? Because like people who have had resources for years and years, usually, not always, but usually have that kind of detachment of like, you know what I mean? They're more kind and loving and humble about it and just used to it. Do you know what I mean? But someone who is newly feels like they could lose it at any time. Do you know what I mean? And it's like they just finally pulled up over the, you know, on the precipice, and they're hanging on by their claws. They're like, ha, I'm higher than you, you know? And they still can look down and see how far they could fall, you know? And so they're just kind of really scrappy about it, you know?
No, what strikes me too about even as you're describing the process you guys went through and the choices you made with being the slapstick stuff, it really came across for me. I'm like new to Jane Austen through this whole experience, and I'm only started reading the books. And like for me, and I know we chatted about this previously, like that came through. Like that like attempt was very like, it was resonating. I was like, that is like, we see those choices being made there, and it was very effective for us adults as well.
I'm so glad. I think there's so much comedy in Jane Austen. Do you know what I mean? I think she's so funny. And sometimes people just forget about that because there is so much great romance and drama, you know, going on. But there's so much funny stuff, I think, hidden in there. Not really hidden, but in all the books.
The stilted language makes it hard for me, just because I just need to learn that. But you're right. Like I'm starting to read Emma right now, which is... I need to maybe focus and read that, because there's a lot of machinations happening and I've already forgotten how this is all working. But there's some really funny comments where I'm like, what just happened? Because I didn't understand how those words strung together, but I think someone made a joke.
I think someone got burned. Someone got burned. I can read that.
Definitely got burned.
That's right. Someone is smoking. Because
Someone got burned.
You've been red. Now I just want to go back in time so that I can pitch an episode to the Wishbone Writers Room.
Oh my God, yes.
Specifically so that Emma could happen, so that you could play Mrs. Elton, because that's like the same category.
That would be the dream role. That would be the dream role for me. Hold on, I'm going to plug in my computer because I just realized I thought it was plugged in, but it's running out of charge. So hold on.
Please.
Hold on.
Oh, yeah.
Get it.
I got to plug in my computer. That would be terrible. Hold on. Okay.
This is amazing.
This is the best conversation I've ever had in my life.
This is the best Sunday I've had in like a year.
I have to tell you something else that is just complete. It's a little bit related, but so I played that Caroline Bingley character who was sort of a departure for me when I was younger, because I usually play like the more like nice people. But then so part of it stuck because I ended up being on Mad Men and Parks and Recreation a little bit in a few episodes. And both of those characters were so judgy. One of them was like this housewife who is really kind of judgy in a similar way of this in the 60s, and then the nurse that I played in Parks and Recreation was really judgy and snarky as well. And so it was like, I have always thought like, is this because of Caroline Bingley that I keep getting cast?
It made an impact.
Apparently so. Exactly. But anyway, it's funny.
Do you ever have people come up to you and say, hey, were you on Wishbone?
Yes. That is the one thing. I'm not kidding. In the grocery store, it's so sweet and I always love it. They don't say Caroline Bingley. They just, say Wishbone. They're like, were you on Wishbone? Are you the first on Wishbone? Because for a lot of kids who, came home every day and watched it, it was their kids show. I understand because I had mine. We all have ours,
What was your kids show?
Well, I was, I was Sesame Street people, Sesame Street and Electric Company.
Oh yeah. Electric Company. That's the shit.
I just, Electric. Oh, God, we have to put that on a t-shirt. Electric Company. That's
the shit.
I want that t-shirt. But it really was. It was great. Rita Moreno. And think of all the music on Electric Company. Oh, and the music was amazing. Yeah.
Because if I just start this, we're all going to finish it. Are you ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah.
Yep.
Sorry. So good. So good. Yeah.
Do you have a favorite Wishbone episode? Either that you were in?
I do. I have a favorite, even though I love them all. But my favorite episode that I got to be in was Bone of Arc. Excuse me.
Yes.
Joan of Arc.
Yes.
Because I got to play Joan, which was a dream role. My sister wrote the episode, and she's like the most awesome person alive. And the man who would be my brother-in-law, who married my sister, was the special effects person at the time. They weren't married at the time. He set me on fire, and it was real fire. And that was really exciting. I had flame retardant pants on, and they tied me to a stake and set me on fire. And I'm clearly a cracked person because that's like one of the highlights of my life. I was so excited to do it. I was like, yes. He also shot me with the arrow.
Heck yeah.
It was like there was a little putty inside my costume, and you had to really hit the putty because it was like a real arrow. And he did an amazing job, shot me with the arrow. And Soccer was so sweet and like clearly worried about me because I was crying at one point in the episode, and is like licking my face. And there are all these like outtakes of him just licking me and just like being so worried. It was so sweet.
Oh my God.
It was really, really
oh my
touching.
gosh.
What am I going to do as soon as we're done here today? I'm going to go watch that episode.
You're going to watch Bone of Arc.
Bone of Arc, clearly.
Come on.
Come on, Wishbone.
Come on, Wishbone. But it's just such a sweet story and I don't know. And she's such a great model for girls and everybody, her story is pretty cool.
Did you have any visibility into the books or stories that were chosen for Wishbone? And was the goal just to get kids to read more, or were there specific, like, we're teaching lessons about this thing or this thing?
Right. Well, I did have a lot of insight of that because Wishbone was a family affair for me. So my mom was one of the educational consultant on the show, because she was a professor of English and teacher. And so she had a lot to do with which books got picked. And then my sister was the main writer, the head writer and producer of the show. She wrote most of the episodes. And so then who would be my husband to be, wrote some episodes, and my dear friend Mo Rocca from college worked on the show. This was his first job. He's one of my best friends, and he wrote a lot of the episodes. And then my brother-in-law was doing the special effects. And so it was a family affair. It was really neat.
That's awesome.
And so we all got to work together. It's the only time that happened. And that, that was just, that made it even more fun and magical.
Right. It's that's like one of those things. When I lived in LA, I worked at the LA Opera for a couple of years on the ring cycle. And I got to know those people so well. Like, I have art on my wall still. And just, I'm like having memories of just being around the people that you care the most about, and like working on something creatively.
And working together and being creative. It's very,
and it becomes a family, Yeah. But the best kind of family, because, you love each other and you're all working towards the same goal, and it's great. Yeah.
Wow.
But yeah, so they chose the books definitely to inspire kids to read, as an introduction to reading, to all these authors and stories that younger kids weren't getting in the education system right now. It's interesting because I have an 8-year-old girl and a 13-year-old boy. We're both amazing, but even in their school curriculum, there's not as much reading of the classics or even novels in general. It's kind of shocking. I was having a discussion with some other moms recently, and we were just kind of shocked, because when we were coming up, there were basically English was a lot of reading. It was novels and then talking about the novels. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And it's not really like that anymore. Mm-hmm. Which is strange. And so that shift was starting to happen way, way back before Wishbone. And so it was sort of the hopes that we would introduce these stories and authors to kids, and it would sort of take root. And then as they got older, they would discover and rediscover these authors and stories and be familiar and not be intimidated, because I think classic works of literature, at least, used to scare some people, and they'd be like, that's either going to be boring, or it's going to be too hard for me to understand. You know what I mean? Or it's going to be about something that happened so long ago that I won't be able to relate to it. And so kids, weren't interested in people. But if we could somehow make it accessible to them with this modern story and this adorable dog in a costume, and give them a little Cliff Note version, then maybe they'd read the story one day, whether it's when they're 10 or when they're 100, you know what I mean? And then they'd have a way in, because they kind of know a little bit about it going in, So
That's
it's just,
great.
my mom and my sister used to say, it's like an introduction of someone you hope will become a really good friend to the kid. You know what I mean? Because these stories are like, they can be like your friends and your guides for life,
Mm-hmm.
And you said your sister wrote the scripts, most of the scripts?
Yes. She wrote the book. She did an amazing job, right?
She did such a good job on Pride and Prejudice, because we didn't even miss the Wickham, predator crap.
Right, exactly. And it's so fun. Well, what's so interesting is, and actually I think Vincent Brown wrote the Pride and Prejudice one. So she did not write that one, but she, edited it, because she was story editor, and she wrote most of the other scripts. But what was so interesting was figuring out what you had to take out for children, and realizing that you could really maintain the integrity of the story if you took out some things that we would think are, crucial, you could never take that out. You know what I mean? It would take, but when you start to distill the story and the characters for a younger audience, it's kind of cool, because you see there are
essence.
Things exactly. The real essence. What's really,
That one scene with Wickham, and is he had two lines. I'm poor. And I'm just, it's oh God, you nailed it.
That's all we need to know. You know what? That's all we need to know.
Nailed it.
Exactly.
Yeah, we don't need to know about you and those young girls. We just need to know that you're poor.
You just need to know that you are poor. Exactly.
Yeah, it's fine.
Oh my God, that's so funny and so silly.
Is your sister Stephanie?
Yes, her name is
Hilda. The next time you're going to chat with her, Hilda is so good.
Isn't it so good?
She is the creator of Hilda.
She created Hilda. She created Octonauts, which is another amazing kids show. She's creating some new shows right now, but she did Hilda, all the seasons of Hilda. I can't remember if they've all dropped. I think one is still coming. She just won an Annie. She's won Emmys and BAFTAs and Annies for all of her kids' amazing writing and producing. But she just won another Annie for Hilda this week. So excited.
Oh, that's
I'm
great.
So proud of her.
Congratulations to her.
Yeah.
If you, especially moms who are listening, if you haven't seen Hilda,
it's so good.
But as a grown ass woman with no children, Hilda's great. Really.
You know what I love about my sister's shows? It's true of all good programming, doesn't matter, but for kids programming, a lot of the audience for her shows, Octonauts, Wishbone, and Hilda, are people who don't have kids. And a giant portion, which is a real tribute to her in the writing and the animators or the acting of whatever show she's on, because it's like universal. Do you know what I mean? It happens to be for children, but they're just like great stories and
fun to watch. Like just fun. The dog is
exactly.
so cute.
So cute.
I mean, right. I mean, who doesn't want to see a cute dog in a costume? Come on.
It's
Wishbone.
Truth.
I mean, that was before memes came, before you know what I mean? Before the internet was like a big thing. They were like way on the cutting edge. Cause like now everything is, dogs and cats dressed up and stuff,
How responsible do you think Wishbone is for that trend?
I poised that it is like it's highly responsible for it.
You know what I'm saying?
I think so too. I really do. At least a little bit. Gotta give a little bit of credit.
Very clearly formative for you guys.
Yeah.
So
yeah. One of TV's great dogs.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
We were trying to come up with a top 5 yesterday. Wishbone is in the top 5.
Obviously.
It's definitely in the top 5.
Eddie from Frasier.
Eddie from Frasier.
I was just going to say Eddie from Frasier. One of my all-time favorite shows as well.
Yeah.
Eddie from
Lassie.
Frasier.
Clearly.
Lassie's up there.
Lassie was a really great actor.
Yes.
The
drama. The drama.
But I know Lassie. I know the drama.
I don't think I think this is a good crew, but not a standout for the top 5. Homeward Bound crew.
Oh,
yes.
Yeah.
Intersectional.
That was
not TV though.
Not TV.
Fair enough. So there. Yeah. Okay. So
Rin Tin Tin, old school, maybe not quite as impressive. Acting wise,
on the top 10. But
very well trained. Yeah, very well trained.
Very well trained.
Yes.
Well trained. Yeah.
We don't want to take out too. Please. No, one more.
Beethoven.
Oh gosh. Yeah.
A hero.
A hero. The comic world.
We don't want to take up too much more of your time because it's Sunday and you have a whole life and this is a lot of time to spend.
I have to teach a dance class in 8 minutes.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So
really quick, what is your favorite Jane Austen? And if you got to play another Jane Austen role today, what would it be?
Ooh, my favorite Jane Austen is Sense and Sensibility. My favorite version of that is the Emma Thompson version. Right? Hello. Okay. Yes. We all love each other. We're on the right page. Okay. So that's my favorite. If I could play another character, I would want to play another, like, not a main character, but
a butthole.
I mean, it's more fun to be the villain. You know what I mean? Not even the villain, but just the awful, because those wonderful characters have to exist in the relief, you know what I mean, of the buttholes. So if you don't have the butthole there, you're not gonna get to experience the brilliance of the Marianne or the Elizabeth or the, you know what I mean?
Totally.
So, or the Emma. So the buttholes are really important to her story and all stories, and they're just more fun to play as an actor. Let's face it. You know what I mean?
Well, I'm going to keep my eyes peeled for when inevitably you play Mrs. Bennett somewhere.
I was going to say, I would love to see you play Mrs. Bennett.
Would be a dream. I mean, she is so awful and so deliciously awful. I mean, every fiber, and I love her. And I feel like I've met her a million times, so I can't wait to play her. Yeah. And now I'm like there. And the thing about, like, I was an actor and choreographer and dancer and grew up doing all that and kept doing it. And then I took some time off to be a mommy, and now I teach dance and I still choreograph and I still act, but I'm just getting back to it. But I'm so excited because the thing I love about being an actor is doing the character parts. And now that I'm getting to be older, I'm just so excited. I'm like the only actor in LA who's so excited to get old, because now I can play the parts that I want to play.
Yeah.
So I'm going to, you know what I mean? So like the Mrs. Bennett, I mean, that is, for me, that would be yeah, that's the dream role.
Oh,
Yeah.
man.
So
Can't wait. Well, have fun with your dance class. Thank you so much for doing this.
you are so welcome, you guys. And you should come and dance with us because we're on Zoom right now. So anytime you want to come and take a dance class, we have Decade Dance Party, which is like dancing through the ages from the 20s to the 2000s to the O's.
That sounds like fun.
Every week is a different decade. We talk about the history. It's really fun and silly, and you don't need any dance training. And then we have other classes that are more dancey, but whatever.
If people want to take these classes, and I am sure some of our listeners are going to want to, where can they find that info? If
you Google Gotta Dance Productions, maybe the third thing that comes up is Gotta Dance Productions, Jeannie Simpson, my name, Jeanne Simpson. And they can just click on that. It's a Facebook page because, like I said, I'm really old. So it's going to take them right to my Facebook page when they Google that. And then they can see the stuff and they can send me a private message or a comment, and I'll get right back to them with the Zoom link. Because now we're on Zoom still dancing. So
awesome.
We have friends I'm in LA, but I have friends in New York and Chicago who are dancing with us every week. And we're going to keep the Zoom aspect even when we return to the studio, because we don't want to lose our friends from all over the country. It's really fun that we've been getting to dance together for this year. Crazy.
That's great.
So so it's super fun. So there's all that information is there, or at least a way to contact me. Of course, my email is also on the internet everywhere. It's not really hard to find me. If you want to come dance with us, it's fine.
Well, Jeannie, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Have a good dance class.
Oh my gosh.
Well, would you maybe come back and talk to us again when we get to the Northanger Abbey Wishbone episode?
Of course.
Awesome.
I would come and talk to you anytime about anything,
Great.
especially another Wishbone episode or whatever you guys want to talk to. And thank you for your wonderful podcast and for, getting the word out there about Jane Austen, because it's a very Wishbone thing that you're doing. You know what I mean? Obviously you have people who already love Austen, but anyone who listens to your podcast is going to fall in love with Austen, and that's a good thing. So
thanks.
I appreciate
That's
it.
so nice.
That's really nice.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Oh my God.
Good.
All
It's
right.
good. All
Well,
right.
good luck. Go dance.
I got to dance, people. All right.
Thanks,
Bye.
Jeannie. Thank you,
Bye,
Jeannie.
Jeannie.
Bye. Thank you,
Bye.
guys. It was so fun. Take care.
You
Bye.
too. Hey, y'all, sneaking in from the future for a second. After we finished recording the episode, which you will hear the end of in just a minute here, I got an email from Jeannie saying that there is something she wanted to plug that she had forgotten to mention in her haste to get off to her class. So this is what she wanted to mention in her own words. And of course, I have her permission to read this. So here's Jeannie. I was having so much fun talking your ears off today that I forgot to include one thing that I had hoped to promote at the end. I married the son of a romance novelist. My mother-in-law, who passed away a few years ago from cancer, was a very successful romance writer. Jane Austen was one of her inspirations and most favorite writers. She would have adored your podcast. She published over 30 romance novels that are still in print and popular, and I was hoping to introduce some of your fan base to her work. Her pen name is Edith Layton. She even based one of her heroines on me in a book called The Chance. I wanted to honor her with a shout out. So Edith Layton, the layers have layers. In addition to all the other wonderful things about this episode, we now know that Jeannie is the daughter-in-law of a successful romance novelist, and that she's the inspiration for a heroine in a book, which I definitely have to read now. So go to bookshop.org or your favorite local bookstore here in Chicago. Mine is Women and Children First, although I also love books and Uncharted books and some other wonderful books, and look up Edith Layton and read a wonderful romance novel today. Now back to us a few days ago. That was so restive. I took a turn about the room.
Yeah.
I had a calming draught.
Yes. I got my smelling salts.
Yeah, I had a nice cup of wine.
I was feeling a little faint. I
Yes.
shoved a chocolate muffin into my face.
Yeah, and then I did a back bend.
Yes.
Again, hold on. And then I did a back bend. I want to thank Jeannie Simpson for being our guest. She was very generous with her time, especially because we had a little technical kerfuffle, because of course we did. It was so kind of her to come and speak with us. So thank you, Jeannie. You will have also now heard, because we're after the conversation, but you are in the future listening to us talk about the conversation that we just had that you just listened to.
Just stop it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'm done. You will have just heard her talking about how she was going off to teach a dance class. We have not picked a date yet, but keep in mind that some Sunday coming up, y'all, we are going to do an old-fashioned Fitz mob, only it's a Jeannie mob, and take her amazing sounding dance class. So listen for that date. Follow us on Twitter if you're not already. You can do that at PodlanderCast. We'll also post it on Patreon, patreon.com/PodlanderDrinkcast, and on Facebook, facebook.com/PodlanderCast. You can find the info there. We'll all take our class together. It will be a hoot and a holler and a hurrah.
And a bark.
And then we'll all turn and we'll put our paws down.
Yes.
And we'll look for the treat.
Yes. Yes, I will.
Next week, as I think you've probably already heard, because I suspect we're going to just run the same intro again, our next PP is being Mr. Wickham. Being George Wickham or being Mr. Wickham? It's being Mr. Wickham.
I think it's being Mr. Wickham.
Yeah.
We can find out very easily. It is a play, which is not a thing we're going to be able to do very often. It is being Mr. Wickham because it's live. And right now there isn't really theater. And also it's not an experience we'd be able to share with you for the most part. So our Pride and Prejudice adaptations are pretty often not going to include theater. However, in this case, we can, because on April 30 and May 1st, Theatre Royal in the UK is streaming Being Mr. Wickham live. It stars Adrian Lucas, the George Wickham from BBC Nemesis. So I guess like the definitive Mr. Wickham. We haven't watched all the adaptations yet, but he is certainly, when I think Mr. Wickham, it's that guy's face that comes to mind.
Yes.
So he is talking about the long life of Mr. Wickham. He probably survived them all. All the Bennets are dead, but George Wickham lives on.
Remains living. That's the truth.
That is April 30 and May 1. You can find more information at theater with an R-E royal. I mean, that's my commentary. Theaterroyal.org. It's theater with an R-E and royal, like there's a monarchy. Yes, Janine?
This is being released after that date.
No.
No? I thought I had a month to do this one.
Yeah, we still have wine show and stuff.
No, but this episode won't be released for like 2 more weeks.
Yeah, so
it will be after April 30th.
You're talking about all this stuff that they can go do, but this has already happened.
This is what I get for time travel.
See?
So
Janine, you go ahead and cut as much of this as you want. Those of you who have already seen Being Mr. Wickham live, there you go. That was me.
I don't know if I want to cut any of this. This is great.
Well, it does really show the people what the sausage looks like as it's made.
I'm gonna spoil it for you. We didn't take a nap. We didn't have a nice calming glass of water. We didn't take a turn about the room. We just stayed in front of our microphones. We're silent for like 30 seconds and then tried to come back composed. But we're all really still riding very high on Jeannie Simpson.
I don't know what's going on.
Microphone. Anyway, our next BBC AE is Being Mr. Wickham, starring Adrian Lucas, which you have probably already watched or not, but now there's nothing you can do about it. We're very excited to talk about this play. And again, in the spirit of time travel, we haven't seen it, but you have.
Maybe?
That's not fair.
Oh, you're so lucky. You're so lucky. You live in the future right now.
Yeah.
Gosh.
We also
those flying cars there.
I think you'll probably then also hear our Men in Kilts wine show thoughts before we get to Being Mr. Wickham. So none of this is relevant. How much is relevant? None of it.
Well, it's relative how relevant it is. If we're talking about time travel, the relativity
I'm going to go
effects.
throw myself out a window. Come on, guys.
You have to wait to throw yourself out a window until after I get done reading a list of our patrons, because I've already done all of our fun. I said I was going to do it in advance, and then I only did half of it. God damn it. We've already gone through all of the
handles,
dealies, our handles. We want to thank Jeannie Simpson, again, who you can Google. I've already forgotten the name of her dance studio. Gotta Dance Productions. And it's like entry number 3. And then we'll take her dance class. It'll be great. Maybe I'll send Danny Jallis a little Twitter DM and see if he wants to join us.
Might be.
I mean, he did say that, he's an enthusiastic dancer.
Yes, he did.
What you missed when you were popular. Okay. We want to thank Jeannie for being here. We want to thank everyone who listens to the show, especially our friends on Patreon. If you support us on Patreon, you can join the Slack, which is super awesome. You can do our lunch breaks and our crowdcasts and all of that stuff, bonus episodes, Janine's Corners, the pictures of Jasper, all kinds of stuff. So again, patreon.com/podlanderdrunkcast. We want to thank all of you, but especially the following lovely people: Cat's Paw 156, Sand Loving Jen, Maddie Perkins, Snazzy Knock, Julia Gulia, Kathleen Martini, Lauren Tennant, Kelsey Kemp, Madison Johnson, Emily Day, Betsy English, Caitlin Reddick, Ashley Tegeson, Kristen Freckled Fury, Laura Combe, Amelia Bazell, Liz and Tinkerbell, Stella Welch, Chrissy Shively, Claire Feeney, Kayla Reagan, Rochelle Lefevre, Amanda Smazaza, Heather Robbins, Jerry Hurdle, Brittany Holbert, Emily Carlson, Amy Gustafson, Rachel Townsend, Steph Peterson, Kelly Mazzella, Chantel Soldiers, Mary the Falling Statue, Tara Lucchino, Viv Pickles, aka Laura, Mary of the Grapefruit, Jenna Plakowski, Ann Gibson, Ruth McCormick, Katie Kirshner, Trish McCurry, Dr. J, Jen Linder Drunkleg, Kelly Bodden, Amanda Newton, and Kiki the Wise. Thank you so much for all you do. I really am going to go have a calming draft now.
Me too.
Same.
I think we need it.
Mm-hmm.
God, what a fucking delight. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.